Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm Joe White, and today I'm joined with a very special guest, someone who I've trained with a little bit in the past in terms of football and who has had an extensive non-league career playing Toolstation League, Southern League football, and he's also very into his coaching and is a young aspiring coach, currently coaching at Millfield School. Mr. Jake Mawford. Welcome, Jake. How you doing, mate?
Evening, mate. Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. You all right?
Yeah, not too bad at all. So, first question, let's get straight into it. What are your earliest memories of football?
Probably playing in the garden a lot with my older brother. I remember my family threw me like a happy 4th birthday and just trying to dribble past all my mates. And then my dad thinking, actually, you're not bad at this. Let's try and explore this a bit more so you can enjoy it. And then joining Banwell Juniors, I always played a year up in grassroots and just playing regularly there and scoring lots of goals in tournaments. I remember mainly the kind of like the summer tournaments. Do you know the ones I mean? Like we play a whole day and eat a burger in between. Eat a burger in between each match and play with a stitch and that sort of thing.
Yeah, good stuff. So you always had like a natural ability then, even from a young age. Is that fair to say?
I think it's just having an older brother and
right.
a dad that also. My dad was a sort of local football manager. So basically, always been in football change rooms with my dad as like a kid, and then like playing with my brother in the garden or playing on the side of a football pitch forever. So I've always just been playing football. So I don't think it's necessarily natural ability, but just playing football all the time.
All the time since I was young. Yeah, no, that's interesting. So you've got one brother, have you?
Just one older brother, yeah. Manager of Cheddar.
Oh, okay, right. It still is he?
Yeah, he's the manager at Cheddar Toolstation, yeah.
I didn't know that. I should know that, really. They beat us up a bit a few weeks ago. Well, a couple of months ago now, actually. But I'll have to. I think we're still playing them again. We still have them to play, so that'll be. I'll make sure to catch up with him. Oh, that's good. So you were never. Would you practice on your own a lot then, or was it a case of always being with your brother or someone else?
Yeah, loads. I always wanted to try and be a professional footballer, so I thought if I practice on my own all the time, then that will, eventually that will happen. So I had to kind of promise to myself that I'd practice every day, and then something will come from it. But I think, for whatever reason, it just didn't quite happen. You get distracted, don't you? And
yeah. Who instilled that sort of mindset into you? Because it takes a lot of discipline, doesn't it, as a youngster to sort of go and practice on your own, or go in the garden, or go in the road and sort of hit the ball against the wall or something. Did someone? Where did you sort of have the initiative to think, do you know what, I need to do this if I want to be good at
it? My dad's always loved football. Like I said, he's been a manager and he always loved football. So I was always even when I was in primary school, I was going to my dad's football sessions and training with men. And yeah, I wasn't particularly interested in anything else. I think probably socially was quite immature for my age. Do you know what I mean? In terms of maturation, didn't really develop until I was like 17, 18. So I wasn't interested in girls until like 17, 18.
Right.
All I wanted to do was play football.
Sure.
So that was my thing, really.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Good stuff. So progressing that on slightly then, so I presume you probably played school football as well, and you're probably one of the better players in your secondary school. And from that, I believe Bristol City signed you, didn't they?
That's right, yeah. So just from kind of what we were talking about earlier, the summer tournaments, initially I went to Southampton and I went to the Bath Centre, and I thought I was doing quite well, and then I realised that was just one of their kind of centres out of loads of centres, and I went to the actual training academy, and we had like this trial day, and I just remember there being like 100 kids, and you're meant to stand out, and I just thought this is just too much for me, this is too much going on. So that didn't really turn out, and pretty much straight away afterwards I went from another tournament, I went to Bristol City. And I was there for about 2 years, and it was okay. Do you know what I mean? It's okay. I still speak to my coach now. He plays for my cricket club. He's actually helping out with the first team at Bristol City now, Alex Paul. He's a really good guy, and we talk a lot about the sessions that used to happen and we used to do, but it was a bit mundane. We'd go and Scott Wilson was in my age group. I'm sure he probably mentioned it to you. We'd go into a box and do one-on-ones for half an hour, and then do skills unopposed for half an hour, and then finish with a game.
Right.
And that was pretty much it. Monday, Thursday, Saturday, or whatever it was. I think it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was just pretty tedious.
Right.
And I wasn't, I wasn't developing physically. I wasn't as good technically as the other players like Bobby Reed and that sort of thing. So I was to be honest, I was quite thankful when I got released, because it was tedious and I didn't really fit in there. Do you know what I mean? I knew I wasn't as good as the other ones at that point, so I was quite thankful. Now,
were you technically not as good or physically not as good?
I was very fast, sort of when I left primary school, and then I spent the first kind of part of the secondary school catching up technically, because everyone else was catching up physically, and then the latter stages of secondary school, where then people were surpassing me physically because I wasn't maturing. I then had to do loads of sort of work technically to catch up, and then when I left school, it all kind of come to fruition then. But again, I got released at the right time because I left and then started playing men's football straight away.
Yeah, that's interesting. Alex Ball, did he play for Bolton? Is this the same Alex Ball?
Yeah. He played that game
Alex many years ago at Bolton
against Norwich in that FA Cup game. Yeah.
He was a good player. He played for Team Bath. He played for Team Bath as well, didn't he, for a bit, I think. Good player. So when you were at Bristol City then, were you always a winger come striker like you are now, or not?
I played mainly, I think, centre mid, yeah.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, mainly centre mid and a little bit of right midfield. The thing is, when you join academy football, you go from scoring like 40 goals a year in grassroots to a team full of everyone who scores 40 goals a year.
Yeah.
And then you stop scoring goals, and then your confidence drops.
Sure.
I see it with kids I've coached. I experienced it. So yeah, then I just kind of dropped into a position and just filled a hole basically, because they needed someone to play there, because they're
got you.
developing Bobby Reed, fair play. But the rest of the kids have said to make the numbers up, aren't we? In truth.
Yeah. Well, obviously the dropout rate's huge, isn't it, for academy lads and scholars and people like that who don't quite make it. Absolutely. So you say you're actually quite pleased to get released, and I can sort of see why that makes sense from your point of view. And then you went straight into men's football, you're saying. So
pretty much, yes. So got released end of year 9 to under 14 and played one season under 15 upper age, and then as soon as I went into year 11, I started playing men's football. So I started playing for Western St John's, who were in the Tool Station. But then pretty on into the season, they folded, and I just played for the reserve team then in like Somerset County League, which was a good experience.
Yeah, sure. Got
me understanding what football was like.
Yeah. How do you find that transition phase then? Because obviously academy football is very different, isn't it, to sort of men's football at that sort of level. How did you adjust to it to begin with?
It's probably more exaggerated now, because it's footballing academy become more technical. Not sure if it was there then.
Okay. How old are you? Sorry, what's your age?
28.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So you think 14 years ago?
Yeah.
We did play football, and it was more technical in an academy than it would have been men's football. But I think it was actually the shocking thing was leaving Bristol City. I think my last game was against Millwall or something, and also I was at the time gutted, but now in hindsight I see that it was better for me to be released. And a week later I went and played for my local grassroots team. I can remember I had the worst game ever because I just couldn't cope with how different it was. Like from the parents not saying anything on the sideline to every time we're getting a free kick, the parents screaming that we had to boot in the box. Like, it was just nuts. I can't get my head around it. Crazy.
Very different then. So you played for Western St John's then. Was that for a season?
Yeah, basically. And then I joined Western under 18s when I went to college, and then played for Western in my first year of college in the Conference South. Made my debut against Newport, I think. When I was 16, that was good.
So who was the manager of? Well, firstly, who was the manager of your Western youth team? Then who is your first manager in the Western first team?
So it was Ryan Northmore.
Right.
Was the under 18 manager, and then it was Andrew Gurney initially. Then he got sacked, and then Ryan got promoted from under 18s to first team, and I played under him. And then it was Craig Laird who came in the following summer, and I was there for a couple of years then.
Yeah. So now you're sort of playing at a decent standard of non-league football then. So did you drift a bit wider outfield then, or not?
Yeah, that was then. As soon as I joined Western, that's when I started becoming. I was a number 10 initially, but then when I went into men's football, become like a winger really.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to put younger lads onto the sides, isn't it, rather than having like a massive part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, we spoke just before, obviously, we went live about you've had a very large amount of non-league football clubs, haven't you? I think it's about more than 10 different teams that you've played for at sort of Tool Station and Southern League level, which is actually quite commonplace now. Lots of players change clubs every year or every other year, don't they? So do you just want to sort of summarize some of your experiences throughout the sort of last 10 years for all of those clubs that you've played for?
I think initially, obviously, I was at Western, which was in the Conference South, and that was when I was 16. So I did play a fair amount, but then the new manager came in from Bridgewater, and he brought his Southern League Bridgewater players in with him. And naturally, that's going to be a bigger club for him, probably more money. He's got responsibilities. He's not going to want to play a 16-year-old kid every single week.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of the time on the bench, which was fine. That was still a good experience. But then after a while, I wanted to go and play some football because no one wants to sit on the bench. So then I got sent on loan to various different clubs. And maybe I was a bit too picky. Maybe I thought the grass was going to be greener than it was. But initially I went to Wellington, and the style of play wasn't particularly suited to my strengths.
And Wellington's a funny old pitch, isn't it? It's on that slope.
Massive slope. So then I asked if I could go somewhere else. Then I went to Barnstable, and that didn't really suit me. So then I went to Mansfield, and that did suit me because the manager wanted to play football. But then I wasn't playing all the time. I was playing most of the time, not all the time. So that was
who was the manager at Mansfield at the time?
I've had so many, I can't even remember. No, I can't even remember. He's a good bloke though. He was the manager of Bristol Rovers. It's gone. It's gone. Just like so long ago, 10 years ago. So I was playing most of the time, but not all the time. That wasn't the point of the loan really. So then I went to Cambridge, where I knew I was going to play every week, and that was on a 3G.
Yeah.
So that was good. So I had a good spell there, and the manager kind of let me play as a 10 and float, so I could get on the ball, and that was good. But in hindsight, I should have probably just rolled my sleeves up and got on with it, because what I was hoping football to be, coming from Western, playing on a beautiful pitch, nice style of football, isn't necessarily the commonplace for non-league football. So it took me a few different loan places to understand actually that's just what football is, probably at all levels, and I just needed to get on with it.
Yeah, no, I found that really interesting, and this, to be fair, is one of the main reasons why I wanted to have a chat with you today. Because from my point of view, obviously having trained with you and played against you, in terms of your abilities as a dribbler and a football player, I think that you're a very intelligent football player in the way that you sort of use the ball. Don't take this the wrong way, but I wouldn't say that you're lightning quick, but you're certainly not slow. But in terms of the way you maneuver the ball, you can dribble past anyone and go left or right with a chop or a step over. And I remember watching you a few times for Western and when you played at Street, and I really love that about you as a player, that you can just go by anyone almost effortlessly, because you must have practiced dribbling with the ball so much.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just unwillingness to pass. I think just didn't really want to pass the ball. Yeah, I spent a lot of, as soon as I left school, I spent about 5 years playing five-a-side with my mates, and that was massive. If I had time now without a baby to go and play five-a-side again, that would make a massive difference to my football. I thought about I'm doing a futsal course at the moment, UEFA B futsal course.
Okay.
And we're getting to do the practicals and that, and I'm loving joining back in with that. And if I had time, I'd go play for a futsal team or something.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just think it came from repetition of just finding one-on-one situations and just enjoying that side of the game. And having managers encouraging me to do it, I think.
Yeah, sure, because that's important. But as a young player as well, I mean, I've got quite a few young players that I'm managing at the moment. How do you did there come a point where you had to sort of work out when was the best time to dribble the ball and when was the best time to pass it? Because sometimes a lot of young players that are good at dribbling with the ball and that's their strength, they sometimes tend to do it too much and can then end up getting tackled every time they get the ball. What are your views on that, and how did you adjust to sort of, because you're one of them sort of players that sort of aren't giving it away every time you have it. You know, you make good use of the ball most times you have it as a good attacking dribbling player. Just talk us through. Did you have a sort of moment when it's like, oh right, I get it a bit more now. I shouldn't dribble with it every time I get it.
I think with my coaching hat on, I would say 1v1 situations or driving into space. That they're your two moments to dribble. So do you have a space to dribble into, or even a 1v1 situation? I think when and when not, that's like no one gets that right every time, and that's the real difficult part. I think probably just from personally watching a lot of Barcelona, and watching like Neymar, Henry initially, Ronaldinho, and then obviously Messi mainly. Kind of understand. Messi can't really use Messi as an example because he dribbles in moments when no one else can.
Sure.
But kind of understanding when and when not, and more around the positional play of how to get into spaces where you can dribble, and recognizing when those spaces are the moments to dribble, and when you're not in them, just to shift the ball so that when you next get it, you will be in that space. But that's just understanding. That's just understanding space, basically, because football is space. You know, I can dribble perfectly if I got loads of space. If I don't, and I'm playing at a high level and there's less space because there's defenders around me, that's when it gets more difficult.
Yeah. No, I find that really interesting. So, in terms of when you talk to us a little bit about the areas that you try and receive the ball in. Then, do you actively think about that now as a player?
If I'm on the wing, I'll probably initially try and stay as far away from the ball as possible, especially if it's on the other side.
Sure.
And I'll just. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not, because if the play does develop on the opposite side to you, you might miss the opportunity to score a goal at the back post.
Yeah.
Which is obviously frustrating. But normally I just will wait as long as possible and just hold off. And as soon as a centre mid takes the ball on his back foot and looks like he's going to open out, then I'll either look really uninterested and kind of dart inside, or pretend to dart inside and then just pull back out, or just stand still and just hope that you can get the ball.
Yeah.
I prefer to just stand still nowadays. I'm a bit old and tired.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard and read some things as well. I mean, Pep will go mad, won't he, if a winger tries to take on a fullback unless he's one-on-one. I've heard stories that he'll go absolutely bonkers if, like, I don't know, Sterling or Mahrez or whoever it is tries to take on 3 or 4 players when they're not in a one-on-one situation, because they try and manipulate that sort of overload to isolate situation, don't they? So that they can get the person who's good at dribbling and taking people on in a one-on-one situation, and then they can get a cut back for a goal.
If you're at Man City, though, you know that the ball's going to circulate and it's going to come to you. Obviously, in non-league football, through lots of factors, the competitiveness of the level, the style, the players, the pitches, you can't just stand there and wait all the time because you'll never touch it. So that's difficult. Sometimes I'll get dragged off after 50 minutes, but I'm trying to wait for the right moment, but it's just not happening. Sometimes you just need to go and dive in and get involved in the chaos of it all.
Yeah, sure. So that's interesting. And talk to me about that, because you enjoy the technical aspect of the game, don't you? And I know you're really into your coaching and stuff now. How the sort of most teams that are successful at non-league level tend to play a very direct physical type of game, don't they? Do you think it's possible to, let's say, win the Toolstation League or win a Southern League if you're not direct and physical mainly, or not? What do you think?
I don't see why not. Froome are at top of the Summer League at the moment. Played them yesterday, and they tried to play out from the back.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I think you just need good players. That doesn't matter if you're making short or long passes, you need someone who can protect the ball.
Yeah.
If you're going to be playing into the striker and he's constantly going to lose it, doesn't matter if that's a 5-yard, 50-yard pass.
Yeah,
that's not going to help the team. But the majority of the time, the longer the pass is, the quicker it comes back. Because you're trying to kick it from me to you over 50 meters. The chance of it going wrong is obviously bigger than if it's 5.
Absolutely.
But I think probably in non-league, because the pitches aren't great, people tend to play a pass it. If they lose it, it's not going to be next to their penalty area. I don't think that just because people are in non-league that they can't do it, because there's lots of good defenders in non-league that can pass the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily that. Maybe it's just a lack of faith from the sideline. One mistake and then people don't want to do it anymore, maybe. But
yeah. Do you think the pitch, like you say, you touched on the pitches there, do you think the pitches have got a big, I mean, because you talk about now we're in December, January time when a lot of the pitches are quite bogged down, aren't they? That can't help, can it?
No, that is for me, that's the worst thing about playing football in this country, at our level. Because I don't necessarily struggle this time of year, but I go into it a bit bleak.
Sure.
You know, when it's just so boggy, the ball's hard, heavy, it's cold. You know, it's just not. I don't mind it. I mean, I obviously get involved in it, but it just means that the game's probably going to go a certain type of way. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's really interesting. I find that aspect of the game, very interesting, just in terms of a lot of teams over the years, from my point of view, have had a lot of success just being direct and physical. And like I say, it's difficult with the pitches. And I suppose from a coaching point of view, you only see a lot of these lads only once a week, don't you? It's difficult to implement a style of play like, you'd see at a much higher level.
Things have changed now, though. Like, we're talking now online. I don't see... People do train once a week, but I don't see why a manager couldn't make a Zoom call.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? And go through it. But maybe that's for when we're managers. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a bit sort of high level thinking. So just obviously you play for lots of different non-league clubs, and one thing I just wanted to try and highlight and focus on here was obviously you won the league when you were with Street, didn't you? Toolstation Prem, I believe, in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk us through? Was Rich Fay manager then?
That's it. Yeah, he's my manager at Melksham.
Yeah.
And
so
I've always got on with him.
Just talk us through sort of why you were successful that year, and perhaps, I don't know, a few nuances about the tactics and formation and strategy that was behind that league success.
To be honest, it's not the answer you're probably expecting. That I found that year really difficult because I started my job at Millfield.
Yeah.
I think the year before that, and as I started my job at Millfield, I wasn't able to play Saturdays regularly anymore.
Sure.
So I went from playing Conference South for Western and really enjoying it and doing quite well, to only being available once a month, unless it was in the holidays. So I had to drop down a few leagues.
Yeah.
And I found that really challenging mentally. That I've really struggled with that. So I just missed the benefits of going and playing football for 90 minutes and running around and blowing off steam. So although I enjoyed the moments where I was at Street and won the league, it feels a bit hazy to me. I can't really remember it too well because it was just so frustrating. Only be able to go, like I was basically working at Millfield, finishing a game at 3 o'clock, driving straight to Street, getting changed as the game has already kicked off, running into the into the dugout, and then being brought on with 30 minutes to go.
Yeah,
and then just feeling like frustrated because I was playing 4 leagues higher or whatever it is, and playing regularly and training regularly and really enjoying it. So that's what my football had become, and it's always been a balancing act, trying to be a coach alongside being a player. So in terms of like the actual football and the style, it was really good man management from Rich Fay and Nathan Rudge, and they're good blokes and they look after you.
Yeah.
And then they got a good set of lads there, but I can't really remember too much because I was just wasn't in a good place. Do you know what I mean? And I think when we spoke about how many clubs I've been at, I had my biggest turnover of clubs in those 2 years when I wasn't able to play football regularly.
Yeah.
So I was just searching from club to club, trying to find somewhere where I could play ad hocly and still enjoy it.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I went Western, Dorchester, Polton, Cheddar, Street, just trying to find somewhere I could turn up and still feel like I was getting something out of it, but it just didn't really work out.
Yeah, no, that's honest account of from what you're saying then. So obviously you're with Rich again now at Melksham, and he's an experienced manager at this level. How's it been at Melksham?
Yeah, really enjoying it. It's been like probably the first time in about 4 years. That's not true. First time since Gloucester I've been able to play football regularly. Because obviously I had those 2 years with my work where I couldn't play because of Saturdays. And then I had a year at Gloucester where I could. And although that was loads of ups and downs, 3 different managers, it was good. We avoided getting relegated in the Conference South, played with some really good players, met some really good people. And then we had COVID, didn't we? We lost the last 2 seasons. And that's been really frustrating. So it's nice being able to go out every week and play. Probably my form's dipped last 2 weeks, so I think I was getting anxious about whether it was going to get called off again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think is this all going to be pointless? But I think that hopefully is passing, and we will get an actual season out of it, and that's given me a bit more optimism, a bit of an energy boost. We're actually going to be able to play regularly.
Yeah, definitely.
And fingers crossed we can try and get into the playoffs. We're not a million miles away if we put a good run together. So it's quite a competitive league for like the top 7 or 8. It's quite competitive. The rest of it doesn't feel too dissimilar to I probably shouldn't say this, Tool Station. I'm going to get kicked now, but it doesn't feel that different. But the top 8 feels like a competitive league. It feels like there's a lot of teams that could do fine in the Southern Prem.
Sure.
I don't think it's just 2 that would go up and be able to survive. I think there's a few of us. It's just who can get there.
Yeah, definitely. And Melksham, they've got a lovely stadium, haven't they? Obviously, nice surface. I feel like that sort of club suits you down to the ground.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, pretty much guaranteed. Every other game, it's going to be a footballing contest because the pitch is good. It's flat. It's a good surface, so we know that we're going to. It's not total football. We can make some passes and we can get on the ball. Yeah. So at least we're guaranteed. Then you might have some horrible away days, but at least next week you're back to hopefully having a game of football.
Do you play up from the back then at Melksham?
I think we just play with the spaces, just sensible. Like this, you'd obviously play out from the back if they're sat 40 yards off. Why wouldn't you centre half from the space? But if they're pushing really high and your goalkeeper's got a big kick, why not make a longer pass? It just makes just common sense, I think, for the level it's at. But I think all teams follow that principle. If they're clever, just play with the spaces.
Yeah, definitely. No, good stuff. So, just coming near the end, then I just want to talk about your experience coaching at Millfield. Then, obviously, it's a very prestigious place for young people to attend, and I think Tyrone Mings went there, didn't he, as well?
He did, yeah.
A few years back.
He came on a scholarship from Southampton.
Yeah.
I think Mum had to sell a car in order to afford it. It's quite a cool story.
Yeah.
I think he got a lot out of the experience. He still comes and visits sometimes. So.
Yeah, great. So just talk us about your Millfield experience then. What team do you coach again?
So basically, I do under 14 to under 16. So year 9 to 11, Monday to Friday. Training every day. Basically on the pitch mainly, but also in the gym, doing a bit of futsal, a little bit of video analysis as well. So they kind of get everything that a kid in the academy would, but we just fit it around their school day. So it just means I'm pretty busy, normally doing about 3 sessions a day, coaching one of my 3 teams either before school, lunchtime or after school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's pretty full on term time because we're cramming a whole school year's curriculum into 32 weeks.
Sure.
Because obviously we have Saturday school. For each Saturday that we do, you knock that off. So we actually attend school, can't think how many it is, but quite a substantial amount less than the school that me and you probably went to, state schools.
Yeah.
So it is really busy, but it's it's a really special, unique environment, and you get the holidays are great, the food's great. So it's, in terms of my well-being, it's a great place to work, 100%.
Yeah. Do you play on Saturdays then? Your team?
Yeah. So, but I got an agreement now that basically I can, because there's no point teaching kids to love and try and get better at football if you can't love it yourself. So that was kind of my agreement that we have, is that that also I get an opportunity to perform and enjoy my sport as well. So
Yeah.
it works out well.
So is it ever a rush then getting to a game on a Saturday afternoon if you've
No, we just basically just I got a coach that helps me out that will take the reins on a Saturday, or I'll do it on a Saturday morning, or we're playing academy on a Sunday, or whatever needed really. But it works well. Kids get a lot out of it. It's good.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, well, it's fair play to you. It's a great environment to be at, and I know you're really passionate into your coaching. And let's just finish off with then talking about your aspirations in the future to sort of become a coach and where that might take you. I know you love Barcelona and watching them play, and I've had good conversations with you about that in the past. Do you just want to expand upon your sort of way of seeing the game and how you want to be as a coach?
I think initially, when I first started, when I was 16, I wanted to be England manager. Thought I was going to be England manager. Thought everything that I was saying was completely unique and different to anyone else that was out there. And then as time goes, you realise that you're not the only person in England that wants to play football like this, and you kind of grow up and mature. I'm still ambitious, but I think since having a daughter, I think that changed everything, to be honest. So like I was working in the academy as well, so I was at Exeter Academy. So alongside playing football, coaching at Millfield, and working at Exeter, I was doing ridiculous hours, and it's just not possible.
Sure.
I mean, it's just not possible once you have a daughter. For me, it changed everything, especially with the pandemic as well. You don't want to miss out on that time with your family. So I'm still ambitious, but I'm less worried about it. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't set any targets to coach at a certain level.
Yeah.
Actually, non-league appeals to me quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's what I know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? An academy football is great, but I don't like kind of what you mentioned earlier about the dropout. I don't like that it's too football-y for me. That's what I like about working in a school. It's the fact that I'm coaching them football, but I'm also teaching them life skills. And it's all connected. If they don't do their maths homework or they're misbehaving in their boarding house, I will have that conversation in the staff room with those members of staff.
Yeah.
So actually we're taking on a more holistic, pastoral, 360-degree view, and we're making a difference in these young people's lives.
Absolutely.
And using football as the vehicle to improve whatever it is they need to work on, their punctuality, their manners. Whereas in a football club, although clubs do that, and Exeter are good at that, first and foremost, they're to be footballers. And it's just a bit too football-y for me. And they're kids; they get taken in at such a young age.
Yeah,
I think they're going to go there 4 times a week, and they're going to miss out on family time and time with their friends. So I just don't quite. I still, if I got offered a job there one day, that was great. That'd be amazing. But I don't think, non-league's what I know, is what I've been involved in for a long time. Taking a men's team on a Saturday definitely appeals to me because it's what I know, and I think you need to feel comfortable and know where you are. If you go somewhere and you're not used to work, I don't know what a full-time professional men's training program looks like. I've never been involved in one.
Yeah.
So I could never lead it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's very honest of you. With your team then, your teams that you manage at Millfield, do you vary the formation, or tactically are you quite flexible? How does that work?
So for me, there's 4 formations. Like if you're trying to simplify it as much as possible, and I think it's coach's job to try and simplify it. So 3-4-3, 3-5-2, 4-4-2, 4-3-3. Any formation you could come up with probably fits into one of those 4.
Yeah.
So I separate the season into 4 blocks, usually about 6 weeks, and try and play a different formation for each 6 weeks. Just so that if you came to the school and you want to try and play football professionally or semi-professionally or at uni as a right back, you need the experience of playing as a right wing back in all four formations, because what you'd do in a 4-4-2 as a right back would be different to what you could do in a 4-3-3.
Sure.
So if you can expose them to that and just teach them the different nuances, then it's going to make them a more intelligent player, and then they're never going to be surprised if they go and join a different club and play in a different shape. So yeah, I don't necessarily pick one, because I used to always be 4-3-3, because that's what Barca did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to copy Barca all the time, but then you grow out of that. But yeah, obviously, proper non-league saying this, but horses for courses. I don't apply that for 14-year-old kids, but if you have to pick a formation for a certain game, and you're saying that we want to try and win this game to give the kids the experience of the next round because it will be good for them, then if you have two really good strikers, you don't necessarily want to play 4-3-3.
Sure.
So you are kind of, I think you do have to kind of accept what players you have, but when they're so young, they shouldn't really necessarily have a position anyway. I tried to make them play at least two positions each game, if possible. In academies,
it's like that Ajax sort of model, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want them to play striker like under nines all the way through, because it's just not. They become a better striker if they play centre half or they play centre midfield.
Sure. Yeah, no, interesting stuff. Is there a pressure to win games at Millfield, or is it more about development?
Not at all. No, not at all. There wasn't any. I've never actually particularly received any pressure to win yet as a coach, to be honest. So that would be something new, I guess, if I was ever to go into non-league men's football. There actually would be a pressure to win, but there's never really been a pressure to win anywhere I've coached, which is nice. You can just.
But I expect your teams do cop quite well anyway.
Yeah, they do. We get pretty far in national cups, and we've won quite a few and that sort of thing. And I've won competitions in other teams that I've run, but I got a little bit carried away once running under 18s team, and when we won it, it felt like we'd won something more than we had. And a few weeks later, I was like, chill out. It's just an under 18s league. Where these kids go on to next is what's important.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. No, brilliant. Well, listen, it's been great talking to you, mate. Are you signed on for Cheddar?
No, not at the moment. I want to. I want to be on dual red so I can help my brother out, but I get in trouble.
Oh, do you?
My manager would tell me off. He likes telling me.
I'll have a word with your gaffer, see if I can get you on a form.
Yeah. Do it.
No, good stuff. Great. Well, listen, thank you for coming on. It's always good to talk to you, and I find your views about football really interesting, and your experiences are very broad and varied. And yeah, good work with obviously all the stuff you're doing at Millfield, and fair play to you. Keep that up, mate. You've been listening to Chalk Talk. Thank you, Jake. You've been listening to Chalk Talk. Please subscribe and like if you've enjoyed this video. And